China has recently banned all crypto trading in the country. And we're going to talk about this and the latest developments with Florian Grummes, managing partner of Midas Touch Consulting. Florian, welcome back. You've talked about this in a recent report called Bitcoin, Chinese House of Cards is Collapsing. So now this is not the first time China has tried to ban Bitcoin, but like you rightly pointed out, this is the first time it seems like they're getting very serious about it. And it's tied to a lot of other macro variables and events going on in Asia. So what's going on here? Why do you think China has, once again, I stress once again, tried to ban cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, it's true. They tried it a few times already over the last few years, not really successfully, but obviously banning the crypto mining in May, June, July had a severe effect on the crypto scene and the Bitcoin prices, obviously. And it seems that they're this time really serious about it. And I think it has to be seen in a larger context. I think it's obvious now that the party in China basically is over. Since the financial crisis in 2008, we've seen a huge boom in China. They have been building millions of new apartments, real estate units. And of course, this was all driven also by billions of dollars flowing into China. And unfortunately, you have to say the truth. I mean, in a socialistic, communistic kind of government setup, bureaucrats make the decisions and they just channel the money wherever they want to channel it. It's not driven by supply and demand. It's not the swarm intelligence of the free market figuring out where to build a house and where not. So we know all these pictures of these ghost towns for some years already. It's nothing new, but I think now the bubble finally popped. And Evergrande, it's been reported they have, I think, 1.7 million residential units in their order book still. Most or all of them are actually down paid for by Chinese citizens, yet they are unfinished. I think 1,300 projects in over 300 cities. And officially 300 billion debts, but if this is an official Chinese number, you can assume that it's probably at least the double of it. So yeah. I think the question really is not whether Evergrande is too big to fail. I think the question really is whether the Chinese real estate sector is maybe too big to be saved. So, and this, of course, will have severe consequences for the rest of the world. For years and years, we all have been basically singing that song that China is the big new global power and they need all these resources and they do so much import and export. And many countries, Germany is the second largest trading partner now is China. So I assume huge consequences for the rest of the world. And coming back to the crypto banning, I think that China is really trying everything to avoid that people leaving the country with their money and being much more restrictive. And that's actually happening since Xi Jinping is in power in many, many, many different sectors as well.
Well, sure, Florian, but how big exactly is the crypto market in China? Now, they've moved a lot of the miners out of the country already. Well, they didn't move it, but they banned them and then they moved out on their own will. So what's left now? Is it really a significant market to be concerned about once they ban crypto trading in the country? How's that going to affect the rest of the crypto market elsewhere?
I'm not so concerned in regards of whether there is enough crypto traders in China now that might be buying or not buying cryptos. I'm more concerned about all this debt that has been piled up in China, and there is a lot of foreign debt as well. And once the sentiment, the mood shifts, and investors become more cautious, it will affect everything. The markets are so interlaced these days, and we've seen it already. Bitcoin hasn't made a new high since basically April. So I'm not so much concerned whether there is enough trading volume in Bitcoin happening in China anymore or not. It's more like that this whole debt implosion, and we might see a US dollar short squeeze because there's lots of credit in US dollar nominated, especially in these offshore bonds. And then you have probably the tether problematic, which I'm pretty sure that they have invested in high yield Chinese bonds. So this is a very complex, very intransparent situation. And personally, I feel like I risk off. That's my main feeling here.
Okay. I've read that there are enough empty apartments in China to house all of Germany. So once the real estate market collapses or implodes or whatever you want to call it, what kind of impact is that going to have on the rest of global markets for stocks, for cryptocurrencies, anything basically?
Yeah, I mean, just a wake-up call that basically, I mean, many Western companies, banks, hedge funds, etc., have basically financed that boom in China, and they have built way too much real estate than it was necessary for the urbanization of China. So now Western companies or Western investors surely will find out that they have financed all these concrete jungles, these ghost cities everywhere. And I think it's going to be a very painful awakening, and it will have consequences for the building material suppliers. It will have consequences for construction companies. Resources, of course, you can see already steel prices coming down. You've seen Rio, BHP Billiton, some of the Australian mining companies coming under pressure. And now you see since a few 2 weeks, basically, the stock market is coming under pressure. And I mean, we all know that this is already a house of cards also in the Western countries. I mean, the whole party just continued because central banks have been expanding their balance sheets like crazy. So the whole setup is very, very unstable. And I assume that we are in for quite a bit of panic over the next few weeks. And then I assume at some point, central banks will freak out and start really flooding the markets, which then obviously will bring us back into inflation. So it will be a roller coaster. That's basically the camp that I am right now.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has said that the U.S. banking sector is minimally exposed to the Evergrande crisis, and so it really has minimal effects in terms of its ripple effects on Western markets. Would you agree with that statement? Direct effects, of course. It's not going to be a Lehman crisis where, let's say, if it fails, everything else here fails as well.
The Evergrande situation, it seems very particular to China, which has very high debt for an emerging market economy, really the highest that any emerging market economy has had, and the government has been working to get that under control. This is part of that effort. The government put new strictures in place for highly leveraged companies, and Evergrande is dealing with those strictures, and it's something they're managing. In terms of the implications for us, there's not a lot of direct United States exposure. The big Chinese banks are not tremendously exposed, but that you would worry that it would affect global financial conditions through confidence channels.
Well, first of all, it has to be clear. I mean, markets in the end of the day are just trading perceptions, right? And if the perception shifts and if the sentiment changes and people getting more cautious and holding back with new investments or just pulling out their money out of whatever investments we're talking about, the whole thing changes. That's simple in the end of the day. And I think exactly that is happening right now. So, and again, I mean, in the financial crisis 2007 and 8, you would have heard the same thing from central bankers. So I think it's super intransparent what actually is really going on in China. The biggest problem, obviously, is that we in the West, we don't understand what they say and write. So you cannot just do your research, right? So I think that's also one of the reasons why this bubble could continue for so long. There is simply a language barrier. And yeah, now it's time for waking up. And I mean, in the background, you have all these geopolitical tensions going on. So, I mean, this is really a nightmarish cocktail, I would say.
Let's look forward now. What else can China do that's going to impact the crypto market substantially? They've banned all crypto trading. What's next? What else can they ban?
I mean, I think they also banned some of the ASICs producers, or at least try to avoid that people can still continue getting the material to mine. I think they cannot do much more. I mean, it's always been said that you cannot stop Bitcoin itself. But of course, if you make it illegal, you can put a lot of pressure on the price. And we have to see how this works out now.
You're right. You really can't ban, the network effect, but you can impact the price negatively with bad news coming out of China. And so every time they've done something like this, banning miners, now banning cryptocurrencies, the price has taken a hit across all coins, not just Bitcoin, but altcoins as well, altcoins. And so what we've seen is just negative news coming out of the country, impacting the markets in a negative fashion. So my question is, you said there's nothing else much they can do. Is this the bottom then for cryptocurrencies? Or can we expect more bad news coming out of China to put pressure on the price?
I think we can expect more bad news out of China, but not directly related to crypto. I think more related to the whole global economy. And unless central bankers come up, probably they will come up with special drawings rights over the next few months to try to save the whole thing. And I think that will be the point when really people start big time fleeing into hard assets like gold and silver and also crypto again. But I'm looking at the charts of Bitcoin. The last time in the show, I told you I would recommend to wait until it's going back to 35,000, and I remain with that view. I think it's still not clear whether this bull run that started last year in September is still on. I think Bitcoin is in a correction since April. We haven't seen new highs. The last high in early September has been a lower high. It might run into a triangle. That would be the most bullish interpretation I can give you right now. Other than that, if Bitcoin cannot defend the $35,000 level, we're quickly back at 30, and then technically it doesn't look good anymore. So we have this open gap in the Bitcoin future at 25,000 more or less. That is my worst case scenario. That would be a great buy again. But we are not there yet. We're trading around the 43,000. And I think there is still downside. And actually, like from a sentiment point of view, I still see way too many optimism in the sector. And so I'm cautious right now.
So for somebody in the crypto markets who maybe bought at a previous high and they've taken some losses, what should he do? Wait it out? Invest? Let's say he has a longer term horizon, maybe not a couple months, maybe a couple years. Should he maybe wait for correction, like you said, or should he just wait it out?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, long term, I'm a Bitcoin bull and I'm a gold bull. There's no doubt about it. But in the short term, I have my bear head on. So I would say wait a little bit, be patient. I think we probably have more downside to come. 35,000 is a good level to start buying again. With some luck, we see 25 be a great buy, risk reward ratio.
But should you sell right now is my question.
I wouldn't sell my Bitcoins. Altcoins is a different story, but as long as you don't trade with leverage and you have your Bitcoins on your own cold wallet, you don't have to be afraid of anything. And this is the same.
Even if it goes down to 20,000, Florian. I mean, if your call is correct, why wouldn't you sell now and just buy at 20,000?
Right. You would maybe save yourself 50% of losses, at least on not realized losses. But Who knows where we are if we go down to 25 to 20,000? Who knows if all these exchanges then will operate still, if you still can easily wire your money from a bank to a crypto exchange? This is all very questionable right now because I really see big problems coming due to this whole China story.
Okay. Now, the other explanation as to why China has been banning cryptocurrencies, I mean, you mentioned capital controls. Yes, they don't want people buying Bitcoins and then taking that money, transferring that outside of the country. So capital controls is one reason. The other reason people have mentioned is they're preparing to launch their own central bank digital currency. That could be a direct competition to Bitcoin, which they don't want. It's not just China, by the way. ECB, Bank of England, Britcoin, FedCoin from the US is in the works. It's in the planning phase. So once central bank digital currencies come out all around the world, what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question. This has all to do with the fight that we see everywhere in many different topics right now. It's the fight for freedom and free speech or for full government control, right? And I can just encourage all the viewers to stand up for freedom of speech and freedom of living. I mean, this is not the idea that the government regulates our life completely. But
Okay.
this is the danger. This is the danger, of course.
But will it have any direct impact on Bitcoin trading and the big price of Bitcoin?
No, if you ban Bitcoin, it will have severe effects on the price, of course. I mean, it's the old story. We've been discussing this many times. Lots of smarter people than me have been discussing it. We have a lot of institutional money now in the sector, lots of big hedge funds, so they all will try to do something. And you can see since the discussion intensified over the last few weeks what the SEC might do or not. But what's right now on the table is a terrible first draft for the regulation of crypto in the States. So it's coming, and we have to see how this all works out. Price-wise, I think it's going to be a very challenging time.
But Florian, they don't have to outright ban Bitcoin, right? They have a lot of things they can do to make it more difficult to trade, or even just release a competition like a central bank digital currency.
Right. I mean, that's in the making probably in all the big jurisdictions on this planet. And it's probably enough to ban Bitcoin or just the altcoins or just the stable coins to create severe pressure on the prices. They cannot ban Bitcoin. We said this already. The network continues. It's decentralized. But just to spook investors might be enough already. So we have to see how this is going to work out. I assume should there come some form of hardcore regulation or a ban, you're going to see prices drop, of course. But it's really a question of freedom against massive government regulation in so many fields of our life right now. And I just can encourage people to stand up and fight for the right of speech, the freedom of speech, and generally freedom. It's very important. We all know that from the history of mankind, whenever we had free markets, that's when the majority of people prospered, and we had actually peaceful life conditions. Whenever government is regulating, usually they make it worse. So we have to see how this all plays out. I mean, there's a lot of big institutional money invested in Bitcoin nowadays. They certainly don't want to see this massive regulation, but not sure if their lobby is strong enough already.
Florian, last year when I spoke to you, you were so optimistic. Now your tone has turned a little more somber. Let me ask you this, 100,000 Bitcoin, we've talked about this, can it still happen?
Yes, it can, because I think right now I'm really, I have my bare head on right now due to the things that are happening in China, but I believe that in the larger scheme, we're still in the cracker boom. What we're going to see now in the next step after this panic really rolls out, you're going to see central bankers panicking, and they're going to really, they're going to expand their balance sheets even more dramatically, and maybe they even come up with special drawing rights. And I think that then really will be very obvious for everybody that inflation is unstoppable now, and that you have to basically run with everything that you have into hard assets, and this means precious metals, and it also means Bitcoin. And once this correction is over in Bitcoin, I'm pretty sure we're going to see 100K, but I'm not sure how fast it will be.
Okay, what's the relationship there between central bank action, what you just described, and Bitcoin? Are you suggesting that people will rush into cryptocurrencies when there are headwinds and risks coming out of central banks?
I mean, remember, Satoshi created Bitcoin exactly as an answer or a way out of this mess that we've seen in the financial crisis in 2007 and 8. And so it's directly related to that. And you will see, I mean, there is no way out anymore. All this talk about taper and normalization is ridiculous. And now, obviously, they will have a new argument like, oh, the breakdown in China, the problems for the world economy, now we cannot taper anymore. But we all knew that they won't be able to. And you're already seeing energy prices going through the roof. We've seen lots of other resource prices going through the roof. And once they really start with the bazooka in terms of special drawing rights, it's going to be a hell of inflation everywhere. And this will drive Bitcoin to new all-time highs at some point.
At some point, we don't know exactly when, right? It's difficult to time. So let me just ask you this. By the end of the year, do you think Bitcoin can still be the best performing asset in the market this year? You said that last year, you were right. So what about this year?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Right now, Bitcoin is up still 55% for the year, which is actually pretty good. I think oil is giving its best to maybe catch up. I think there's a good chance that Bitcoin will still be the best performing asset.
All it has to do is stay where it's at, actually. If you're talking about year-to-date performance, it's still the best performing asset, but year-to-date performance, well, not counting some of the smaller stocks, I'm talking about the broader stock market. But yeah, Bitcoin has performed very well year-to-date. The question then is, can it fall down to $20,000 or, another 50% or 30% retracement? Then it could start underperforming some of these other assets, right?
Exactly. And we've seen this 1.5 years ago in the Corona crash that, everything moved very quickly suddenly. So it is possible. Right now, I would say, let's see 35,000, how it behaves there. And then let's do an update when we are there. And also it depends on what the other markets are doing, right? If the stock market continues to get under pressure, I could see a deflationary wave for a few weeks that takes everything down. Yeah. We've seen already that gold is under pressure. We've seen the dollar breaking out, which is actually a big signal. And the mining stocks have been very weak already, probably pricing in all these problems in China for a few months already.
Right.
Let's see. I think it's a very tricky setup. It's very complex, lots of factors. I'm in the roller coaster camp right now. So I think first a deflationary wave, and then you see massive inflation.
Okay, let's talk about this conference that we're both attending now, the Future Blockchain Summit in Dubai. We'll both be in, well, you're already there, but I'll be joining you in Dubai in mid-October. The conference is from the 17th to the 20th for anybody watching who's interested in participating live. It will be a live conference, in-person conference. You can go to the registration link that you see here down below, enter the promo code, you'll get a discount for your pass. Now, Florian, you will be a presenter at this conference. It's going to be a huge conference. A lot of influential crypto speakers like yourself and other analysts, investors will all be there. What is the message you want to give to the audience at this conference during your presentation?
Well, I would say generally maybe a few words to Dubai. It has turned basically into a global crypto hub. Literally everyone is streaming in here, coming to Dubai, lots of new companies. This is also to some of the very, very positive visions that the government gave. They're creating new free trading zones here. The amount of talent, creativity, capital, and connections here in this rather small geographic space here in the Arab Emirates is amazing. And I can just encourage everybody to come over. October is packed full of events here. The Expo is starting in Dubai. I think the whole month of October is full of conferences, and the Future Blockchain Summit obviously is the biggest one. It's run by the government. I think it's the fourth edition already. So I think you have over 80 companies there participating. I think you have TDFi and Binance is going to be there. I think they have 3 different topics. Blockchain as an alternative investment. So there's this crypto and NFT. It's blockchain beyond crypto, so it's applications and use cases across all the industries. And you have blockchain and finance, which is DeFi and digital currencies, and also the CBDCs. And on top of this, it's not only crypto; it's technology in general.
Yeah.
So I think it's super exciting, and everybody's here, and you're going to be here. So all your fans in the Middle East should come to see you in person. Huh?
Oh, so they'll come to see you now, Florian. You're a lot more famous than I am. So, but hold on. Now, one thing that I have to mention, because you brought up Dubai, last week the UAE has approved crypto trading in the free trade zone. I think that was an important piece of news that we should bring up. So I think crypto trading is, financial activities using cryptocurrencies are now, I guess, allowed in the UAE. Do you think Dubai is positioning itself to be the next Hong Kong free trade, low taxes, no taxes, actually. So,
Yeah.
what's the vision of the city here?
I think it is exactly that. I mean, it's a pretty free place. It's a free marketplace, so that's why so much business came here, and that's why it's been growing so fast. And you have great conditions here, and it's an incredible international city. People are very friendly, rather modest and humble. It's very busy. You have lots of opportunities. Yes, it's very hot in the summer, but now starting in October, the weather gets really nice. And geographically, it's perfectly positioned between basically Africa, Europe, India, and Asia. So I think it's a great place to be.
You're right. It does get very hot, but with all their money, I think they can afford air conditioning. So I think we'll be okay. Thank you so much, Florian, for coming on the show today. And I'll speak to you at the conference in Dubai. We'll see each other soon. Thank you.
Pleasure to see you there. Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching Kitco News. Stay tuned for more. I'm David Lin.